Welcome to Diamond Dreams, the Prasad Kapre Show, presented by Limelight. Today I have the woman of today with me, who is the first influencer in the jewelry industry. She has over 2 decades of experience in the gems and jewelry industry. Let's welcome Prernaa Makhariaa.
Hi, Prasad.
Welcome. Hi,
Thank you for having
Prernaa.
me over.
Thank you so much for coming over. And so it's very interesting to know that you are the first influencer in the jewelry industry. What actually prompted you? How did you start this?
So I started my career in the gems and jewelry industry almost 2 decades ago, where I took formal training in gems and jewelry and designed and manufactured jewelry for almost 15 years. And while I was doing this, I was styling jewelry. So it came as a natural transition for me to, start influencing jewelry because I really enjoyed that part of it. And I've always believed in being a trendsetter. So
Wonderful.
that sort of opened a new avenue in the jewelry industry altogether.
Right.
And
So you're not a follower, you are a trendsetter.
I totally believe that. Even, when people ask me about what jewelry trends are going to be there and what, I was like, wear what makes you happy, because that'll become a trend than
Right.
following what somebody else is wearing.
Correct.
So, so coming back to your question, the word jewelry influencing and blogging was alien to our industry.
True.
This is way back in 2015.
Right.
I really had a lot of challenges that time, but
I'm sure.
over the years, people understood, and invariably, thanks to COVID, in a way, the whole concept of social media and digital marketing had a boom since then.
Sure.
So things really changed after that, I would say.
So
and-
can I ask you the number of followers that you have?
So, well, my Instagram is almost 180,000 followers. Yeah.
Wow, 180,000 followers. And these are basically from the industry or consumers at large, or what kind of profile?
It's a mix of both. I would say they're all jewelry and watch enthusiasts
Fantastic. Fantastic.
from globally across the globe. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And to reach those numbers, I know how difficult it is normally.
Oh, it is.
It takes
I'm
a whole lot of...
right from the first follower to building a whole community. It's been quite a
You must be feeling nostalgic now when you look back.
I am getting goosebumps
Yeah,
thinking
absolutely
of that.
true. Yeah, which is amazing. Wonderful. Agreeing to do this because I wanted to ask you a lot of interesting, trends and things like that. But having said that, the first thing first, when you say you are the first jewelry influencer, what exactly prompted you to get into this, and what do you actually do now?
So I started my career in the gems and jewelry industry with taking formal education and then working in the industry as a designer and manufacturer for almost 15 years. And while I was doing that, my forte was always towards styling jewelry and the way it needs to be worn.
So you've been a
and what-
designer yourself?
Yes.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
I studied at GIA.
Okay.
And I studied GII, SNDT. I think all the possible courses in the industry I must have done.
Sure.
And so that's how I know my subject very well. And while styling jewelry, it was easy to transition from a designer to an influencer because I had known the product well.
Okay.
It was very hard when I made that transition because the term jewelry influencing was very alien to our industry.
Absolutely.
It never existed. Jewelry blogging internationally existed, but nothing in India. So I think that was,
In fact, even now, I don't think so. There are many there, right? And
just a handful, I would say.
exactly.
A handful. But sometimes it feels nice to be the first one.
Boss, you always remember the first man on the own. Nobody remember this again. So that goes without saying.
So even if you call it that snob feeling, okay, I am just having.
Yes.
So, but
You should be proud of it. Then why not? I totally agree.
so it's nice to do that, and I actually feel nice to see how the industry has transitioned from not knowing the social media side of marketing to actually now focusing on that. So I've seen that entire transition as I started my career into it and grew over the years into it.
True. Absolutely. I mean, so have I, in terms of transition that has happened over the years. It's phenomenal. And in fact, that brings me to now understand from your perspective, what are really the trends happening in the jewelry industry world over?
Yeah. So, having traveled for shows in India and internationally, there's been a big shift from pre-COVID to post-COVID priorities in the jewelry.
Oh, interesting.
It's a lot of jewelry has become, related to meaningful conversations, and jewelry has always revolved around emotions. But I think it's just become so much more existent now after COVID because people value it much more. The emotions towards loved ones or the families or friends has just, they've started accepting it more than pre-COVID.
Okay.
So a lot of minimalist jewelry, which is more meaningful, wearable, it's no longer about, storing the jewelry in the locker. People want something that I can wear every
Yeah, it's for adornment. It has to be for adornment.
It is like,
that's the whole purpose.
मुझे वो रोज काम आनी चाहिए. I'm happy to wear it. In fact, a lot of times when I have conversations with customers online and they ask me that, hey, will I be able to, will this have a resale value? Will I be able to wear it years later? And I was like, you first buy jewelry because you like it. You don't start thinking of it already as an investment or a return value.
Correct.
Because you want to wear something that makes you happy.
Absolutely.
So coming back to trends, I would say it's more about minimalism. It's more about meaningful pieces.
Sure.
And as much as people like minimalist jewelry, but in India, it's always been larger than life. So the whole shift after COVID has also come, Arey yaar, shaadi ek hi baar karni hai, I want to spend that money and splurge that money on looking the best.
Correct.
So India still believes a lot in, bold is beautiful. I would say that.
But, since this particular channel is all about diamond dreams, and you rightly said that you want to adorn it, you want to, flash it, and you actually want to splurge on the jewelry. So keeping all that in mind, जो diamonds की जो trends हैं, वहाँ आपको क्या लगता है? Do you see any changes? Because the way it's getting more aspirational, at least in Indian markets for sure, there seems to be a whole lot of interest being developed in diamonds now. So how do you see the trends there?
So preferences, yes, towards diamonds has definitely moved from gold towards that. I would also say that along with diamonds, a lot of alternatives have started coming alongside.
Sure.
Be it in gemstones, be it in different materials of, metals that are being used, or in diamonds itself, right? It's no more just about the white diamonds, but you have so many ways of colored diamonds.
Correct.
You also have a lot of alternatives in terms of diamonds, be it lab-grown, be it synthetics, be it any other form.
Yeah.
But, so I would say that, but the rarity still remains with natural diamonds.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that will always remain. So, because finally it's a natural resource versus a lab grown, which is actually being produced by humans and in a plasma reactor. So that no doubt that will always remain. लेकिन because जो आज की affordability factor है, क्योंकि normally जब आप jewelry खरीदने जाते हो, so there is always a desire to buy some kind of a design, some kind of a jewelry, some kind of a product as a category. But अगर वो affordable नहीं है, तो many times you tend to do a compromise. For example, actually, between gold and diamonds, the research has actually shown that the sweet spot for the consumers is around 30,000 rupees. Versus when it comes to diamonds, it goes to 70,000 rupees. So काफी लोग ऐसे हैं जो 30,000 से 70,000 के लिए अपने आप को stretch नहीं कर पाते अपने budget को. So then they end up buying either a plain gold jewelry or maybe CZ jewelry, gold and CZ. So वो होता है. Versus अगर mine diamonds खरीदने हैं आपको, तो उसमें आपको 70,000 तक आपको जाना पड़ता है. मतलब that's where you need to stretch. And as you rightly said कि अब जो दूसरे alternatives आए हैं, so perhaps that is what is creating an excitement in the market, with lab-grown diamonds, because it gets more affordable. So there is a sort of a desire कि भाई मुझे भी खरीदना है. See, because everyone likes to buy diamonds for sure. There is that motivation to go and buy at least a small piece of a diamond, if not a big solitaire. So अगर वो करना है, तो now आज उनके reach में है, and that's where I think it's reaching the masses. So do you see those trends happening? Do you see any change in designs which is happening? ऐसा कुछ आपको कोई trends में लगता है Indian markets में?
So India and internationally, you see that most of the bigger brands and the jewelers, have started to develop a line in print jewelry. Be
Sure.
it you see any of the branded houses now, they have started this range because they've started working post-COVID. They've started working more towards the wearability factor and not just the aspirational factor. Yes, as much as jewelry is an aspiration, but it all comes down to how affordable is it and how wearable is it. Today, our target audience is the youth.
Yeah.
So it also has to be affordable. It has to be in their means.
Correct.
So for someone who is buying their first piece of jewelry or their first diamond purchase or gold purchase or whatever, it has to be, like you said, affordable for them. And there, that sweet spot really makes a big difference. So in that ways, I would say diamonds now have so many alternatives where the affordability definitely works
Absolutely.
in a big way.
Okay, so now that there are different alternatives available, and especially in lab-grown diamonds and the mined diamonds, and similarly even in emeralds, I believe there are lab-grown emeralds, there are lab-grown rubies which have come in. So there are these choices which are available with the consumers. And even in lab-grown diamonds, you have colored diamonds. You know, you have blues and the pinks and the yellows. So do you see any design trends which are going to change? And, you know, so for example, if from a size perspective or a shape perspective or whatever, I would like to understand from you how do you see that trends changing?
So since you've spoken about lab grown, the first thing I would like people to know that lab grown is something that they do not need to fear about. I mean, just like natural diamonds are there, lab grown is going to coexist.
Absolutely.
At some point, there were American diamonds that came, cubic zirconia came. They were not a threat to the diamond industry. So why are people fearing with lab grown?
No, at the moment, because they are exactly the same or, identical.
They look
so
identical.
That's where they are identical, So from that perspective, unlike in Caesar or American diamonds, they were not diamonds. They were Caesars or even moissanite.
Yeah.
They are moissanite. They are not diamonds.
Yeah.
But lab-grown diamonds are diamonds, because chemically, physically, thermally, in every whichever properties that you look at. So since that's where the question mark or rather the misconceptions are coming in. But you are absolutely right. There is nothing to fear because finally it's another alternative available in the market. It's your choice. It's consumer's choice.
Yes.
So that's where, from a design perspective, do you think any trends?
So, I would say that with the existing market, it just makes the jewelry much more affordable, especially when it comes to destination jewelry.
Sure.
Because when you're traveling, there's always that fear that अरे jewelry lock में रखनी है, गुम नहीं जाए, ये नहीं जाए. So as much as this makes it more affordable, it subconsciously also makes you a little more relaxed that, okay, I'm not worried if I leave it somewhere or
Absolutely.
if it, for any reason you misplace it or any of that. So that is, I think that one factor as customers, people need to understand as that they do not need to fear on that. Coming back to trends, I think with this you can experiment a lot more because you know that your jewelry is affordable and you can have the, all the experimental factor in this. Even if you want something larger than life, you want to wear something bold, you won't have to worry so much about the cost of it because you know that it will still fall somewhere into your price bracket without going absurd.
True.
At the same time.
And the same design, if you make it in natural diamonds or mined diamonds, is going to cost you a bomb, right?
Yes. So, I don't want to say that, don't buy natural or don't buy any.
It's the consumer choice.
Yes,
absolutely.
it is, like we say, the customer is the king.
Correct.
So I truly believe that. So when you have your basics in place with mined diamonds and you want to try something different altogether, here's an alternative where you can actually experiment with that. I would actually look at it that way.
Right.
Also, it becomes aspirational for someone who wants to buy a natural diamond. It becomes a stepping stone for them. Ki, this is where this is my first purchase and now I want to buy a natural diamond.
Sure.
So I think that it plays a role between the two that, they go hand in hand, I would say.
Yeah, and it will coexist. I mean, absolutely no doubt on that. And it's customer's choice, because the way the customers have a choice between silver, platinum, and gold.
Exactly.
It's just the metal.
It's just an alternative to give them an option that,
Correct.
if you are able to buy a natural, you can buy a natural. But if you want to look more at the affordability side of it, you have an option to look at.
Sure. And from a self-purchase and gifting perspective, again, there you see any trends or anything emerging there?
So, how we talk about 25,000 being a sweet spot for jewelry. If it was a first purchase or a gift, in natural diamonds, what is going to be available. Whereas in a lab grown, maybe you get a little bigger piece.
Sure.
So it completely depends on, again, a customer. If they want to give something like, for example, North India, I would say, would want something bigger and, flashy in that same price.
Sure.
So for them, it becomes a great value for money.
Yeah.
And at the same time, for a natural diamond, it would, you might get something minimal, but it also gives you the rarity factor when it comes to natural diamonds. That, you are happy that, okay, I'm buying a natural diamond. So I would look at it that way.
So from corporate gifting, do you see any trends which are happening now?
So, traditionally, when people would look at corporate gifting, they would think of a gold coin, a silver coin, or any form of a gold jewelry.
Right.
That was always considered as a form of investment. But there's been a transition in the past few years where there has been a shift also towards diamonds. They've started opting for diamonds, be it any form, whatever they like. And I think that makes a great gift in corporate, and not only just look at the traditional way of purchasing a coin or a jewelry.
So that brings me to the question that what's your personal choice? Which jewelry do you buy and on what sort of occasions? And what would you ask the consumers to do it from your perspective?
Well, growing up in a Marwari family, I've always grown up to seeing diamonds. And,
Absolutely.
so by heart, that would still be a personal choice. But I think looking at the youth today, if they would want to, for them, they have alternatives available, so they can look at that. But again, coming back to my personal choice, I actually wear a lot of polki jewelry. So I definitely prefer wearing that. And I love wearing antique collectible jewelry. So that's my...
very different choice. But,
yes.
it's very interesting. I'm sure you must have got some lovely designs.
Nice. I've had pieces from my grandmother and great-grandmother, which now I've not seen that sort of work anymore, because that sort of enameling or that kind of pearls or diamonds are rare to find.
In fact, when we talk about different occasions, and one such trend which has happened in the US, I believe 63% of the target audience actually end up buying engagement rings which are using lab-grown diamonds versus the mined diamond. That's a huge shift that has already happened in the US.
Yeah.
Do you see those trends coming in India? And if yes, why? Or if not, why not?
No, I think Indians still... they are inclined towards mined diamonds because they've always seen that.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's
early days.
Yeah, it's something like we would say we've grown up to seeing.
Sure.
However, the customer is still now getting evolved, and they are getting educated towards lab grown.
Yeah.
So I would say that they have started transitioning towards that. But it will take a couple of years for them to accept lab grown as a form of an alternative. And you never know, maybe like 5-10 years later, you have something else that has already come up as an alternative.
It's finally a technology.
So I think that shift has already started coming. Not as rapidly as the US, because they still believe more in practical jewelry. Whereas in India, it's still an emotion and more about investment.
And it's also about, creating that awareness. I mean, I think so it's early days for the Indian market.
Over the years, I think that shift would come.
Yeah, because that's what the younger younger audience can actually afford it.
Yes.
Or वो ज़रूर चाहेंगे कि even if it's a proposal ring or a engagement ring or any kind of a jewelry, that they would like it with bigger and colors and different shapes of diamonds, and that's going to be natural. So I think that's
Prasad, here also one important thing is how important it is for someone to know, or for them the rarity and the sustainability factor matter to them. For someone where the sustainability factor matters, they may choose a lab grown. For someone who believes in the rarity and the sustainability both, and the ethical practices, how now the jewelers are educating, they might opt for a mined diamond, although the price points may be the same for the both. So ultimately it all comes down to what is a personal choice for someone and what they opt for.
Absolutely, which is so true. And जो अभी current market trends हैं, especially in India, as I said, these are early days. But लोगों का preference, what we have seen as part of the industry, is more to go for bold kind of a jewelry and using all different kinds of shapes. And no doubt, the existing buyers are going for bigger sizes. If at all they want to buy lab grown, then and all the customer profile is going to remain the same, in the sense that it's not that because I'm only into mined diamonds I will continue to buy. Someday, we'll all buy lab grown, and vice versa. So even lab grown diamonds, even if I switch over to lab grown tomorrow, still I'll go back to natural diamonds, because अभी के जो trend नजर आ रहे हैं कि the moment it goes to some traditional or religious kind of jewelry or something which is heritage jewelry, so there it's all about creating that kind of a aura around that kind of designs. Versus if it's more modern, more bold, more colorful, then people would go for that. So they'll continue buying both.
Absolutely.
वो trend जरूर दिख रहा है. And as I said कि ये एक नया trend है जहाँ पे shapes अब ज़्यादा use हो रहे हैं, which were not earlier easily available with mined diamonds. So now, because in lab grown it's available, so that's another way. So would you how do you see the future? What sort of trends do you see happening now over the next 5 years?
I think now people have started also opting for colored diamonds. How traditionally they would only diamond sochte se white diamond sochte.
Correct, bilkul.
But now you have options like yellow, pink, and blue and reds, and all the possible colors that are available.
True.
There are different, not only just colors but also shapes that you have. You have uncut, you have your different forms of whatever unusual shapes, like a cushion or a asher or a kite and this and that.
Correct.
But I also see, I think, people moving towards specialized cut shapes, which are custom made. For example, I just came across a Buddha shape that I saw some time back, and like you were telling me that you've just seen something related to sports. So I think there will be a customer who will also opt for something like that. Yeah. And they will still prefer that,
in fact,
traditional
recently in the US, somebody has launched, a diamond ring which has no metal. So out of that rough, they have actually cut it into a ring.
Yes.
And it's a entirely 100% diamond. It's a lab grown that they have used because it's easier to cut in terms of the rough available. But, so those can be the trends where there is no metal at all.
Absolutely. So, and I think after our Prime Minister has gifted a lab grown, the awareness for this has become a lot more in India. I think also the acceptability has sort of started coming after that.
Absolutely.
Having said that, my heart is still with the wine.
No, which is wonderful.
Also more so because when I visited the De Beers mines in South Africa, it was such an eye-opener.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And just seeing the way these...
Which mine did you go to?
I went to...
Kimberley?
No. I went to... One second. Oh God.
Venetian. That's right.
Yeah, the Venetian mine in South Africa.
Wonderful. Okay. That's nice.
So, so it was truly...
It's fascinating. It's absolutely, it's mind-blowing actually. And but have you been to any growing unit of these lab grown?
I have. So I actually wanted to see the difference between the two.
Right, yeah.
So once I came back from the Venetia mines, I was like, now I want to see how the lab drones
Correct.
are grown in a lab, and I went through the end. I saw the entire process.
Even that is actually fascinating. You know,
It
when
is
you actually
fascinating. It
see that, you know, where acres of land versus just one little washing machine kind of a, you know, size, if I may use that as a analogy. And, you know, that's what. So it's you know, both have its own.
I think it's also with technology advancing over the years, we will have to adapt and, you know,
the consumers see
change our mindset towards it.
No, and as you rightly said, finally consumer is the king. वो जो चाहेगा, जब
जिसको
चाहेगा,
जो पसंद आएगा,
जो पसंद आएगा वो खरीदने वाला है.
I think it's more that what makes you happy, what brings a smile on your face is ultimately where your heart lies.
Absolutely.
It's that.
In fact, incidentally, you know, when I was talking to Sachin and I was asking him a similar sort of question, ki how does the consumer choose, you know, which diamond he wants to buy? And he had a fantastic answer. He just said ki आपका diamond आपको आवाज दे के बुलाएगा.
Exactly.
You know, so it's not about it has to be internally flawless or yes or something, or he's happy with I1, he's happy with the IF, you know, internally flawless. And जो diamond आपको आवाज दे के बुलाएगा वो आपका diamond है. You know, so I thought that was a wonderful answer. So that was interesting, and that's going to be there. You know, जो diamond आपको आवाज दे के बुलाएगा वही.
So I say the same. I say something similar कि जो चीज आपको खुशी देगी, the thing that makes you smile even 10 years later.
Correct.
Is that piece of jewelry is meant for you.
It is. And finally, it's an heirloom. It's just forever. So, you know, ultimately, you have to be happy with whatever you're buying. You know, it has to give you that happiness. In fact, that's why I call, you know, the entire jewelry industry as more of dream merchants than, you know, because they're actually selling a dream. So, which is great. Thank you very much, Prerna, for coming over and giving us such great insights, and wish you good luck, and we'll meet again.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you.